Through the Leadership Lens is brought to you by Thompson Auto Gas. Thompson Auto Gas is the industry's gold standard turnkey solution for all your auto gas needs. From funding to refueling and everything in between, Thompson Auto Gas is there to support your fleet every step of the way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Through the Leadership Lens, a podcast presented by the Women in Propane Council. I am Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd, and today we're so excited to have a good friend and leader in the industry, Kim Folger, co-owner of Flodger Gas, located in Georgia, very active member of our SEPA association, and longtime member of the industry. And Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but Folger, you are the second generation, but a third generation propane company.
You're exactly right, Bridget.
Great. We love that. It's very exciting.
My father-in-law started this company.
Oh, I love it. Can you kick us off? So as you know, we talk about leadership on this podcast, but we're happy to dive into anything else. Can you just talk to us a little bit about what leadership means to you?
You know, and I've thought a lot about that because I don't know that I have a true definition, but my goal is we've got a team. Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses in that team. As a leader, it's my job to find where each team member is the strongest, and we all work together to reach that common goal.
Agreed.
Could you share a story about finding that staff, that worker for Folger, saying this person belongs in this area as a leader?
So it's pretty funny, Freddie. I'm very rarely at a loss for words. So I'm always engaging. I'm always in talking, and I'm always trying to find what makes that person tick. Because to get them to be their best person, you need to have them where they thrive and where they feel like they're contributing the most, and where you can empower them with the most to fit their abilities. So I was going to save this for a little later on, but I think it lays kind of the groundwork for how I operate. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge F1 fan. And I am 100% Team Lewis Hamilton. He recently left Mercedes-Benz at the end of the 2024 season. The Abu Dhabi race was his last race with Mercedes. He's now gone to Ferrari. So the team principal, Toto Wolff, I found this on Instagram, and I just want to read it because I've read it to all my offices, and it really is the foundation of what I think I do. Toto Wolff has revealed the most important message he's ever sent to Lewis Hamilton, one with a crucial word of advice regarding his arrival at Ferrari. After Lewis Hamilton's final race with Mercedes, the team released a goodbye WhatsApp voice message from the team boss, Toto Wolff. "Hi, Lewis, I'm on the go, so I thought I'd better leave you a voice note, like always," the Austrian said. "Yeah, the moment is here we all knew was coming. We've raced the last lap, the longest and most successful partnership in Formula One history. Who would have thought that when we started this journey? It's been a crazy ride for a young boy from Stockbridge who had a dream and who shared his journey with us here at Mercedes. So now you're opening up a new chapter with Ferrari. But most importantly, remember one thing: find your people. Not just the ones who work with you or sign your contract, and in my case, sign your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we know that's important, but the ones who dream with you, who fight with you, who have your back in your ear, the ones who stand with you and kneel with you, and the ones who see you, including the parts you don't want seen, who never stop believing, even when you do it sometimes. Because when you find your people, you don't just beat the world, you change it. And whatever the future holds, just remember we will always be your people, because every dream needs a team, and you know it. Take care, my friends. See you on the track. We're really looking forward to it." That's the most important message I've ever sent, Wolff concluded. So it's about finding your team.
Mm-hmm. And Kim, I've heard you talk and seen some stuff where you talk about company culture. And I think it's an interesting, I would imagine, having never worked in a family business, that there are a lot of similarities between how your own family operates and then incorporating outside people into your family business and your family values. Can you, like, what role do you think that plays in creating that culture where you do have your people?
I think at the level, when Pete and I first came here, there were 3 employees and 800 customers. We're more than that now. And we are so fortunate. We have, I think, like 7 people over 20 years with us.
Yeah.
Lots over 10.
Mhm.
And I think it is just our number one commitment is to our team members and their families. And we all work together to serve the customer. And I do treat them like family. It's there's expectations that I had from my children growing up. There's expectations I have from my employees. On the same scale, there's expectations they have from me.
Mhm.
And we need to be able to communicate that, and we need to be able to communicate what our end goal is. How do we want to be? Where do we want to go? What are our goals with this? And I always want to be able to go to bed at night and know that I've treated my employees fairly and that I've treated my customers fairly.
Mhm. Is there somebody in your journey into ownership of this company and just like your own leadership development that stands out to you that you thought those are the traits that I want to model when I'm in a leadership role?
That's what Freddie and I were talking about earlier. And I think you have to come into your own, Bridget.
Mhm.
And it, I came into my husband's family business, which was quite intimidating.
I bet.
And then I had to forge my own path.
Mhm.
But I think the person I learned the most from, because 27 years ago when I came in this, it was very much a male dominated industry.
Mhm.
I learned a lot from my mother-in-law, and I wanted to be the strong business person that she was, that I know what I'm doing, and
Mhm.
I want to bring everybody together. So I'm going
Mhm.
to have to say my mother-in-law.
Yeah. What not a lot of people can say that about their
Mm-hmm.
mother-in-law. So I think that's what a treat, what a gift that you can.
Could you, and I love that story. And you're right. Obviously this is a women in propane podcast, but the Women Propane Council always says it's more for than just women. They want men involvement as well. But I think it's incredible that you started working for your father-in-law, Phil, and now are one of the co-owners. So that couldn't have been that easy, maybe it was coming into the propane industry right away. I mean, there must have been some stories. Maybe you can share with us a story of a time where you might have felt a little, is this the right move for me in this male dominated industry back then? Would you like to share? Because I think it's incredible that you're the mentor, not mentor, but the one you looked up to is your mother-in-law, but yet you're working for her husband Phil, who is now the first gen. You're the second gen. Now it's kind of flowing down to your son, the third gen.
A couple of things. When I first came in, I really didn't know where I fit, and my husband and I are both very strong personalities, Freddie. We're very different, but we're very strong personalities. And I had young kids. I, I didn't know how I was going to fit in.
Mhm.
And I was really just Pete's support early on. And then things started shifting to me. So it was a difficult role to step into.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that the first time it it started dawning on me, I almost had to prove myself every day, in some way or another.
Mhm.
And the first really unshaky time I had, pardon me, was when I made the decision, and at this point, my mother and father-in-law were out of the business. Pete and I purchased the Blue Ridge office, and they sold the Dahlonega office. So the first major decision I made was to change software companies. And I thought, oh my goodness, what are my mother and father-in-law going to say about this? How are they going to handle this news? And it was so intimidating. And I think that laid the groundwork for, maybe I can do this. And moved forward with that.
Yeah, I just think of when you started that, you said you had to prove yourself a little bit every day. In retrospect, do you think you were proving yourself to yourself or to them?
I think to myself, to them, and to the people within the industry that I worked with.
Yeah, I think that's probably a shared experience, right? For anybody coming into a new industry, a new role. And I wonder, like, when you look back on it, do you think, like, I always think personally, a healthy dose of fear is good for you, right? And like a healthy dose of humility is good for you. But when you look back at it, is there anything you would have changed? Like, do you wish you would have been a little more carefree, or do you think that was like a healthy balance?
I honestly don't think it was a healthy balance, Bridget,
Okay.
but it shaped who I am today.
Mhm.
And every part of my journey, even when Pete was in the Marine Corps, every part of the journey to get me to my birthday next month, I've embraced every part of it, the good, the bad, because that's who you are and that makes you who you are. And I think it gives me wisdom to be the best that I can be for my team.
And what about when you look at those experiences and that wisdom, how do you share that? Like, I mean, really tactically, right? Like, how do you share that either with your son, Greg, or other employees? You hope you share it so that other people don't have the same mistakes or the same struggles that you do. But oftentimes, right, like you said, you got to forge your own way. Do you do anything like within the structure of your organization to pass that on or develop other leaders?
Bridget, you've known me for years. I am an open book.
Mhm.
And I am very open. And the ones, my people that are right at the top of my people list
Mhm.
know me inside and out. And I do share those experiences because I didn't get to where I am in this seat without trials and tribulations. No one handed this to me. No one handed it to Pete.
Right.
Worked very hard. And it didn't come without bumps and bruises and failures and bad decisions. But that's part of it. And you have to, I want them to embrace the power that I'm giving them. Otherwise, I'm holding potential next generation leaders back. And that's what I want to cultivate. To make my life easier and to give them a sense of stability and accomplishment and feel good about themselves. But they may not have always seen the struggles or the falls that we
Right.
made or the bad decisions we made on hedging, but it's part of our story. And everybody, they need to know that.
Yeah, and when you and I were talking before the podcast, to add a little more to Bridget's question, you were mentioning that you actually bring in a coach, a leadership coach, correct? And
Yeah.
and to bring to your company. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Cherie, I have a leadership coach on retainer, and Cherie works with all of my offices. And it takes me out of the middle of it. It's them one-on-one, and they're hearing basically the same things that I've said to them. It's being echoed from another person who's totally not part of. As we were talking, Freddie, the coach knows really nothing about propane,
Mm-hmm.
but she knows how to lead,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows how to pass on leadership tips. And I want them to hear from a neutral person and remove myself from that. That these are really common things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got leadership traits,
Mm-hmm.
it's just developing them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I would wonder, I mean, we could sit, I feel like we're sitting having drinks talking about this because I could talk about this forever, is that struggle between independence and accountability, right? And empowerment, and whether it's speed to market or response, just general response and customer service. And ultimately at the end of the day, we're all trying to stay in business and thrive, right?
Right.
So how do you and Pete, because I would imagine this is probably a lively conversation, how do you find that balance between we need these things done and we need it done expeditiously and accurately and safely, obviously, in this industry, with empowering rising leaders to do it without you prescribing how it needs to be done, because you've probably done it and screwed up and fixed it and done it the right way?
Right now, we're at a unique stage in our growth, and we've got that middle management layer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said Pete, Greg, and I did an interview session years ago with our marketing team that's on our website. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I say is, our employees that have been with us 10 years or more, they know how to read us. They know what we do. We communicate well. They know what to expect. They know how to make decisions that we would make in our absence.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing, I've not had as much trouble. You're not going to do everything my way. Now, as
Mm-hmm.
long as we arrive at the same end and we've done it safely, by code,
Mm-hmm.
by accounting principles, all of those things, it really doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that feeling, because we've had a lot of people on this podcast who say, gosh, early in my career, no, I wanted it done my way, exactly my way. And it probably comes from a place of your own insecurity, right? Like, did that come with experience to say, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be done exactly my way as long as we end at this place?
That it has come about, two things: A, through my age and not wanting to work 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
which I do.
Yeah.
And B, we got to the point 2 years ago, we realized we did most of our accounting, day-to-day accounting, in-house. And we
Mm-hmm.
realized we were too large to continue that. And so we're still in the process of transferring a lot of that in-house accounting to our CPA firm that we've been with for 30 some odd years. And they, again, know nothing about the propane industry.
Sure.
They know our numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
I've worked very closely with the partner that's over us, and Courtney and I have been working together for over 10 years. And it got to the point we were so meticulous, we broke out cell phones for each truck,
Oh,
for
geez. Okay.
department, and then our landline, and divided it amongst the offices. And Courtney said, why can't we just lump it into phones?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop and think about that. And I said, well, I like to see where my cell phone bill is. And I said, let me think about this, Courtney, and let me see, is this just, I'm used to doing it my way,
Mm-hmm.
or can this work? And I thought about it overnight, and I thought, Kim, what's the last time you've looked at what your cell phone expenses are on your financials? I look at the Verizon bills. That's my job to pay those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at them on the financials.
Mm-hmm.
And so through this process, I think is where I've grown the most. Is Courtney's an expert in that field.
Mm-hmm.
I've got experts that know more about my back office software than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't intimidate me. That feels great that I've taught them. It is my job as the leader for each person in their specialized field to know more than I know.
Mm-hmm.
And if I haven't given them those tools to know more, then I'm failing not only them, myself, but Folger Gas.
Mm-hmm. That's I've heard something you just said has just really resonated with me, in that I watched this or went to like a keynote at some conference or something, and they said, real leaders hire people that are better than them.
Yeah.
Right? Like you hire not, people who are intimidated and not really in a true leadership capacity hire people who aren't as good as them for whatever psychological reason. But it has to be such a relief for you to be able to say, yeah, I trust you
Yeah.
wholly.
Yeah.
And I don't expect you to be without error or without flaw, but I trust you to do the right thing, and then I can absolve myself of that.
At this point, my real job, sitting in this chair, my real job is to help Pete run this company.
Mm-hmm.
My real job is not to be involved in the day to day. I need to be cognizant of it, and I need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure the support is there. But I love answering the phone and talking to nice customers,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what pays the bills.
Right. Right. Right.
Kim, I'm going to go back to something you said when you read that quote, and you said, find your people. Obviously, you found your people. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of the qualities you look for in those people? Because just saying, no, I don't need to get into the back office side of things. I trust them. I don't need to look at this report because I trust those people. What are some of those qualities you're looking for when you build that team?
So, an interview process in this office is very, very strenuous. You go through 3 or 4, and it starts with Kristen. She weeds them out. We have our leadership coach now, gives them the Gallup test and says, yeah, this will work. This won't work for your culture. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we've got to have someone who's not thin skinned, because we're a pretty tough group. It's an intense environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want someone I can sit in here, and that's kind of my job as the closer, so to speak, when I'm talking to, and I just talk to the female staff, or potential female members. Can I talk to you? Can I
Mm-hmm.
communicate with you? Can you communicate back with me? Are we on the same level?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you and I can't sit in here and communicate, I can't make you listen to me every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so the biggest thing is just conversation. You can teach anyone to do this job. It's not rocket science. And that's how I describe it. There's a lot of layers. I learn something new about the propane world every day. It's not especially hard. It's a lot of information at one time. And then one day the light bulb comes on and you're like, oh, I got this. I understand. And then you start the layering. But you can't always teach someone to fit in with your team. And so I'm looking at, we have a very small office here. It's hopefully next year it's the mothership's turn to get a little renovation. But we have 5 women in a very small space.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all very team oriented, and we all have like I said earlier, the same end goal.
Mm-hmm.
So is this person's personality, and you can tell that in 20 minutes in a conversation. And
Yeah.
that's really what I'm looking for.
But Kim, what I love so much about you and Pete, and I respect it so much, is you're not apologetic about what your expectations are, right? And I feel like sometimes we hear that now, like there's these buzzwords out there, with your company culture, and It is a fast-paced environment. You are expected to perform, you are expected to have thick skin, and you are expected to be a part of this team, right? Like, if I were to put a bow on it, and I think that's so wonderful and must be very freeing for the other members of your team to know, like, that's it. There's no hidden agenda. There's nothing other than hitting at those core values and core competencies, and you would likely be very successful. And I think in other places, people are hesitant to own that.
I said to Freddie earlier, one thing at the end of the day, Bridget, I want to know that I've been fair
Mhm.
to my employees, to my customers, to peers within the industry. I want to know that I've been fair. And that's one thing that my leadership coach picked up on when I had problems that we had to address head on. I was fair about it. It
Mhm.
might have taken a little bit longer, but I had to know if the relationship was going to end, I had been fair in that process.
Right. Yeah.
And
Good
and
for
as long
you.
as I've done that, I want you to know coming in when we offer a position to someone new in within our team, I make them think about it for 24 hours.
Mhm.
Because we have fun in the summer, but in the winter, it's nose to the grindstone. The guys get tired, they're snippy, and you got to just we're their support, and we've
Mhm.
got to be that person. We've got to
Mhm.
be the support. And when you have that effective team, when you got your effective people, it really just comes naturally.
Mhm. Well, and it goes back to what you said before. You allow people to thrive with what they're good at and be honest and transparent about what you're not so good at and let somebody else fill in that gap. Which is the ball game, right? Like that's it. We're all human beings. You're trying to do the best that you can with what you've got. And that's it. You've only have what you have. And then how can you contribute and how can you be a positive contributor to a team and ultimately grow, hopefully.
And Pete and I we try to give back to our employees on a level that they appreciate.
Mhm.
Last night I took my Blue Ridge staff to dinner. And it was casual. It was let your hair down. It was just us.
Yeah.
And three of the four have been with me 5+ years. We had a new one. Vashti's been with us, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. And, she fit right in with us. And it's just, that's the culture I want to create within this office.
Mhm.
When I come in and if I'm off, they feed off that.
Mm.
If Pete's off, they just send him back to his office. So, you've got to, I may not have every single answer, and I'm not afraid to say I just don't have it, but give me a little bit and I can find it.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes boost their own morale, that you don't have to know every answer, but there's access to find it.
Mhm. Well, it almost gives people grace and permission to say, like, one of my biggest pet peeves is do not answer a question that you don't know the answer to, right? Because then now you're trying to fix something. Just say, I don't know it right now, but I'm going to find it and be committed to that follow up. And you're not
Exactly.
going to know everything.
Exactly. And if I don't
Mhm.
follow up with you in a timely manner, remind me. I'm not
Right.
above forgetting
Right. Right.
it.
Right.
But
Hopefully not more than a lot. I often drop it more than once.
I do too. That's okay.
Oh, Kim, I love having you on here.
Right. What do you think,
I
Bridget?
I
Think
think
it's
we've
time?
moved to a little different speed here.
Yep. That was a great conversation. Thank you for sharing all that with us. We're gonna move over to the whip round now, Kim. Bridget and I are just gonna fire questions your way. Whatever the first thing that comes to your mind,
Oh my gosh.
answer. But Bridget just said if you don't know the answer, just say I don't know, and that's okay as well.
And we'll
But
find a new question.
we'll find a new question. Because if you lie about it, people are going to ask you about it. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
All right,
right.
Bridget, go ahead. You can go ahead and start this round.
All right, I'm going to ask you one of my new favorite questions is what is the last gift you gave to someone?
The last gift. Oh, Pete and I just celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
congratulations.
congratulations.
And I gave him some really nice hand-blown bourbon glasses.
Oh, great. That's so nice.
I love to buy gifts.
Yeah.
And I
I
put a
bet
lot
you're
of
really
effort
good
into
at it.
I'll say that's a lot of thought in that one, not just buying a drinkware from Walmart or Target. You made
Yeah.
it. That's cool.
Well, I didn't make it.
Sorry,
But I bought
yep.
it from a company that
Yeah.
that does hand blow them.
Wow.
And they're pretty special.
That's great.
So,
Well, now I'm excited for this one. What is your ideal vacation other than obviously Minnesota in the wintertime? But where else would you go on an ideal vacation?
I had this conversation yesterday. Commitment for time away from me gives me such a level of anxiety. I can't even begin to tell you. But last year, Christmas of 2023, our adult children said, we just want a family vacation for Christmas. So we said, okay. And, we tossed around where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And Pete and I ended up making the decision. Our first duty station in the Marine Corps was Kaneohe Bay in Hawaii. And we'd recently had some friends who'd been spending, an extended period of time there. And we thought, that's the place. There's lots of places we'd love to go and see. But I had already said we were nearing the end of building our Hiwassee building.
Mm-hmm.
And as Bridget can attest to, there was a little stressful time for me. But I said, I don't want to be on the go all the time. I don't want to learn anything new.
Right.
I need some relaxation. And so we decided, let's go back to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
We lived there 3.5 years. We know it. We still know people there. And we don't feel like we have to go anywhere. We took our daughter's fiance. And so there were a few things we had to check off: Diamond Head,
Sure.
Blowhole, Pearl Harbor, a luau, a few things like that. But that was it. And, it was so relaxing. It's just a place where you can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, some days we ate dinner out one night.
Oh,
The
I
rest
love
of
it.
the time we cooked dinner in. We sat out looking over the ocean to have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It was just simple and easy.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the market and I took the kids. The kids, they're in their 30s. We went to the market and I said, I'd love for you guys to go with us. I said, it's not just a market. They were on sensory overload.
Wow.
And it's just, it's just a different way of life. It's just relaxing. It's just easy. So that is my ideal vacation.
I love that.
Sounds like you need to take another trip.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll come with.
Well, when we came home, Pete and I set a goal of within 2 years or 3 years, we want to go back for 2 weeks. And in 5 years, we would love to go and spend a month at a time.
Wow.
Oh, that sounds
Good for you.
wonderful. Well, especially if it's like your people, it's your place. You can relax.
Yep.
I don't have to go climb to the top of a cathedral somewhere to feel like I did the thing. I get to just enjoy being. Oh, that's great.
I worked there, and I still have friends that I worked with that I was able to meet up with a couple of them. So yeah, it's just, that's my place.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. What do you keep in the trunk of your car?
Okay, I drive a crossover SUV, and I keep recyclable grocery bags, and that's about it.
Perfect. Perfect.
And I do keep a wine bag.
Just in case.
That's understood.
We'll just say it's empty, right?
Yeah. It is.
Kim, if you wrote a book about your career, what would the title of the book be called? That's a tough one.
It's been a great ride. really have, I really have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, how nice to know that.
Yeah, it's had its ups and downs. It's had its rocky moments, but every job does. And when you persevere and you make this industry, I've had this conversation with someone who used to be an owner, and he's now out of it. And you either love it or you hate it, and there's no in between. But it's its own entity, like nothing else.
It truly is.
Yep.
It truly is. And I think you make friends all over that make the rocky times easier.
That's why you have such a great team, because if you love what you do, people around you will love you for what you do. And that's great. I love that title. If you write a book, I'll buy it.
Okay. Thanks, Freddie. I know when I first came to work here, Pete dragged me in here kicking and screaming. And a few years ago, we were asked to do a radio talk show by our CPA. And one of the questions Roger asked is, how do you run a business together as a married couple? And, obviously there are rules. But the thing is, who in Pete's life could he choose as a business partner that is going to have the same level of end goal and commitment with him that I have?
No one.
No one. So it makes all of it worth it, and you just find a way to make it fun.
Oh, I bet it's fun. I bet you guys have a lot of fun.
I bet.
I love it. I love it. All right. My last question for you is, what do you wish you would have known when you were 16 years old that you know now?
That it's okay to be wrong.
That comes up a lot in our podcasts.
That it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to own that you're wrong. And then you fix it.
That's great. Yeah. And my last question, Kim, for you is kind of the closer on this too. What advice to all the people watching this podcast right now or listening to this podcast, what's a piece of advice you want to give to them?
I think about in difficult situations, I think about, in times where I thought, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. I know God has me here and in each of these lives for a reason. And I bring something to every person I touch as they do me. And going back to Toto Wolff, find your people. And that makes a world of difference. To know that you bring value to them, they bring value to you, and have your team.
Find your people.
I love it.
I do too. Thank you, Kim, for being on our podcast
Thank you,
today.
Kim.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
That was a lot of fun.
This was so fun. See?
Yep. Bridget had felt this was going to be a great podcast.
I knew it.
When I saw the email come through, she goes, "We're going to love Kim," and now I see why. So this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bridget. I'm sure we'll get together in Charlotte.
We will. I'll get on your dance card.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for having me.
You too.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of Through the Leadership Lens, presented by Women in Propane. Be sure to subscribe, download, and share with a friend. To learn more about Women in Propane, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or online at www.womeninpropane.org. I'm Freddie Riddler.
And I'm Bridget Kidd. Thanks for listening. Until next time.